now time to call upon our next speaker. Our next speaker's heart is as large as his physical appearance. He is the current Honorary General Secretary of the BMPA and the head honcho of the very successful mail order solutions. While curating the summit, the team thought of a current burning problem and wanted someone to give us some insights. Being a person who has gone through several transformations, we thought this is the correct person to share his gyan with us. Please join me in welcoming the very large-hearted and ever willing to help Mehul Desai. 30 mad minutes. Post his presentation, Mehul is going to take over back as the MC to guide you through the evening's event. So Mehul Desai.
Thank you, Fahim. Good afternoon, everybody. I am going to talk on a subject which is called 30 Mad Minutes. I'm not too sure why it has been named so. Maybe because the team at BMPA thinks I'm mad. Maybe they ran out of creative ideas and they have picked up my initials and given it as 30 Mad Minutes. I have no clue. But what I propose to achieve through this talk is to make all of you from the printing fraternity who are like me think about where we are today, and if possible, make a few of you act on those thoughts. If I can achieve that purpose at the end of the 30 minutes, I think I would have done my job very well. So let's get started with the presentation. I have been associated with not just the printing industry. I service as a printer the direct mail industry, and so I have been a part of the direct mailing business. I am a part of the Direct Mail Association. My company also services a lot of retail companies, so I'm also a part of the Retail Association. By virtue of being in the BMPA, I have had a lot of my printer friends, a lot of people from the retail, a lot of people from the Direct Mail Association asking me one question, and that question is, will print remain relevant 10, 15 years, 20 years down the line? Now, this is the question which shocks me. It shocks me because why are we thinking this way? What is it that is making everybody think this way? I can understand somebody from the retail trade asking me this. I can understand somebody from the direct mailing business asking me this. But even my printer friends, some of them look at me sympathetically and say, Mehul, will print remain relevant? I mean, I have a huge organization which has over 200 people working for it. I'm sure I have a reason to be continuously being optimistic about my business. But let's ponder over this. So this is the question that's there. To get to the answer, I think I need to take you back a little to the past. When I talk about the past, we all started, most of us sitting here, we would have started our businesses about 15 years back, 20 years back. Some of us are first generation entrepreneurs, some of us have taken over family businesses. But whatever the situation, we were doing business somewhere in the mid-80s, early 90s. The environment then was very different. I'm going to ask my friend Iqbal, who started the business, his business around the same time, as to throw some light on what were the thoughts going on in his mind when the business, he was about to launch his business. Can somebody give him a mic, please?
Sorry, Mehul, your question is that what are the thoughts that were
what were the thoughts in your mind, and why did you get into the printing business?
Frankly, I knew nothing else, so obviously this is the first and the only choice that I had.
Okay.
And the thoughts that went in about 20, 25 years back is that since this was a very capital-intensive industry, the initial question was how to manage the amount of money that was required to set up the business. So everybody would rather start with, say, for example, a single color, then graduate to a two-color and four-color. So probably that's the route that I did, also took 20 years back.
Okay. Thank you very much, Iqbal. So basically, what I'm trying to get to here is that when we all started our businesses about 20 years back, 25 years back, what we needed first and foremost was an idea to get into business. The idea, like Iqbal had, was to get into the printing business. So each one of us had a certain idea. We needed the capital to fuel this enterprise or to fuel this idea. Capital was very limited at that point of time. Either we had to put in our hard-earned money or we had to borrow from family and friends. These were the only couple of options that were available to us as wannabe entrepreneurs. Banks were not willing to lend money to new businesses. Borrowing from money lenders was prohibitive. We would have limited amount of money, so we would, plan our this business in a manner that, okay, 6 months down the road, we are going to achieve our break even. We would do some kind of an analysis on the industry that we were getting into. Just like Iqbal said, he was a bit worried about the capital required to start off a printing business. So we would do an industry analysis by looking at what was the barriers to entry, what were the market forces, how much the competition was there, and various such things. We would have some kind of a strategy, but what was most important for us was to have a firm faith or belief in our idea. That yes, this is an idea, and I know for a fact that this idea will succeed. This was paramount for anybody to become a successful entrepreneur. So this was the environment that was prevalent there. Let's take a look at what's happening today. Today, everybody and their uncle, aunties, cousins wants to get into business or become an entrepreneur and start a company. This is true today? All of you agree? Hello? Thank you. I was hoping for more enthusiasm, but well, let's warm up. Okay. I was reading the newspaper some time back, and I read somewhere that during the 2014 placement season, more and more students at the management schools, these are the top management schools, the IIMAs and the IIMBs and ISBs and those kind of schools, were more looking forward to starting their own enterprise rather than going in for a campus placement. This translates to possibly, because it would result in more competition coming in, more new enterprises starting. This is what the current scenario is. Today's students who are getting into engineering already have an idea. During their course of engineering, which is a 4-year course, they are already building that idea. By the time they finish their management, they have already got their idea on a piece of paper, and by the time they are through, they are already ready with the execution, or they are starting to execute. And to help them, there are initiatives that government is launching. Like recently, all of you must have read, Prime Minister Modi launched a new initiative for startups. Now, startups are going to get, obviously subject to certain criteria being met, these startups are going to get a 3-year income tax holiday. When I started my business, if somebody would have told me that, I wouldn't have done a lot of other things that I did. But that's how business is today. So what is happening is that the whole environment in which we are currently doing business is changing from the way it was when we started our business. This is a relevance that all of you need to keep in mind when we are talking about business today. We've heard speakers earlier also. We had the Professor Saab who said that don't live in the past, we don't think about the future, but we need to know that today where we are. And this is the scenario. The business environment is changing rapidly. Internet is creating huge amount of possibilities. What was earlier not possible is today possible because of the internet. Availability of funding. Funding is something which used to be a problem for all of us back then. We would have 6 months working capital, we would have 3 months working capital. I'm sure all of you will agree that a lot of businesses which started ultimately shut shop, not because the idea was bad, but because funding options were limited, because they did not have the working capital to continue pushing their business till as such time that it reached a break even. So that was the scenario. But today, funding is available to anybody. You have private equity investors who are willing to do funding. There is something called crowdfunding. I read somewhere that a guy wanted to produce a film, okay, and he didn't have enough money, and he put it up somewhere on Facebook that anybody who invests in my film will get X percentage return, and he was able to gather funds for that. So a lot of funding options available. Because of the internet, geographical boundaries have no relevance. We are today not addressing a specific city or state where we are located. We are doing and talking about business across the globe. Access to information is easy. We have 2 ways in which we can get information. One is access Google, and if you want a live version of Google, we have Mr. Nitin Shah. Okay? Realization is the first step. Realization about what? Realization about the business environment. We must realize that what we were doing 20, 25 years back was relevant then. What we need to do today must be relevant to today's time. So the relevance is a very, very critical thing, because what is happening is that funding options are plentiful. That's going to see a lot of new ideas flourish and become reality. A lot of ideas used to die on the table. But today the ideas are going to become reality because funding options are available. We are addressing global markets. We are not talking about doing business only in the city or the state or not even in our own country. We can address the global markets. Phenomenal opportunities due to technology. I've had eminent people like Sam talk about what the technology is going to do. And technology is going to further change how we are going to do our business. Brand creation cycles are shorter. We have people like Uber, Gopher, all of these guys who have come from nowhere in short span of time and are already a part of our day-to-day life. New skill sets are required to do business in the current environment. It's no longer just about knowing your own business. There are a lot of new skill sets which I'll cover subsequently in my presentation. To give you an idea of how different the environment is today and how different the environment was back then, I've picked up randomly two cases which we'll just go briefly over that will throw more light on what we're doing. Let's talk about a company called Xerox. Most of us who are in the printing business know Xerox. I have been an employee of Xerox. I have worked for Xerox, so I know Xerox that much more closely. Xerox was founded way back in 1906. That means the organization is over 100 years old. Joseph C. Wilson, who is credited to be the founder of Xerox, took over the business from his father way back in 46. He saw a lot of promise in Chester Carlson's invention, and he thought it had a lot of commercial promise. By 1958, the company was rechristened as Haloid Xerox, and by 1961, it became what we know it as today, Xerox Corporation. The company is listed on various stock exchanges. The 2014 revenue of the company was $19.5 billion. Now, 19.5 is a huge, huge amount of things. But this company has taken over 100 years to reach there, and today's market capitalization of Xerox is $10.75 billion. Let's take a look at another company. All of us know Uber. I'm sure a lot of you have used Uber. How many people have used Uber app here? Wow, wonderful, great. Uber was launched in 2009 by Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp. Travis was here recently. I'm sure you read a lot of press on him. By June 2010, what we know as the Uber app today became available to the market. Now, pay closer attention here. This is the second point. I first talked about the environment, then and today. Okay, the environment, business environment has changed. I'm coming to the second point, which is of great relevance to us. In 2012, Uber started its international foray. By 2015, Uber was operating in 58 countries, 300 cities. Imagine launching operations in 58 countries, 300 cities in a short period of 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a new city being launched by Uber every third day. Isn't that amazing? And all of that was possible because of the way technology is evolving. Xerox has a global operation going, but it took them a long, long time to be what they are today. But a company like Uber was able to launch itself in 58 countries and 300 cities. That's the power of technology. By July 2015, Uber was valued at $51 billion US. This is a company which started in 2009. In 2015, in less than 6 years, it is valued at $51 billion, and it is the highest valuation for a venture-backed company. Look at Xerox, which is at $10.75 billion. We're not getting into the merits of the valuation. I'm just talking about how everything is being perceived in today's scenario. Facebook, which took 7 years. Facebook is considered to be a highly successful company. Facebook took 7 years to reach the 50 billion valuation. Uber has done it in 5 years. Who knows, tomorrow morning's newspaper may carry a story about some company which has reached this mark in less than 3 years. So that's the time we are operating in. That's the technology. That's the power of technology. To give you more insight into this, okay, and to allow me to show to you what is the third most relevant thing. We've talked about the environment, which has changed. We've talked about the technology. We're now going to talk about what's happening. World's largest taxi company owns no taxis. Largest accommodation provider owns no real estate, Airbnb. Okay, I'm sure all of you are familiar with these companies. Largest phone companies own no telecom infra, Skype and WeChat. All of us use Skype for our business. We use WeChat. World's most valuable retailer has no inventory. Imagine a retail setup having no inventory. It has been the nightmare for all retailers, and here's this guy who is the biggest retailer and has no inventory. Most popular media owner creates no content, that is Facebook. I'm sure all of you. How many of you are on Facebook here? Wonderful, great. We are progressing. Fastest growing bank has no money. Imagine that. Somebody would have told me 20 years back that there's a bank but it will have no money. I would have laughed my guts off. I would have said it's a comedy show, which follows later. World's largest movie house has no movies. Netflix. We've just had the pleasure of Netflix being launched in India. And let's again see how many of you are already onto Netflix. There you go. So this is what the current business world is. In conclusion, what I want to say is that when we started our business, the environment was different. The environment that we are operating in today is very different. Technology is evolving. I'm sure all of you heard Sam speak. The one thing that really scared me when Sam was speaking is that we are not even at the end of the evolution cycle of technology. I don't think we are in the middle also, right, Sam? We are going to see impossible things. He talked about a company like Tesla, okay? And their car, I'm sure if you go onto YouTube and see the video where the cars are manufactured, there are no human beings there. Absolutely, everything is done by machines, robots. So technology is still evolving, it's going to further evolve. There are no markets with marked out boundaries that, okay, I am operating in Bombay, I am operating in India. Markets are global. So anybody who is launching a product or a service is launching it with a global perspective. Funding options, you run out of money, you have a lot of options available. A lot of the dot-coms that we talked about or etc. are actually really not making money. But they are able to survive in today's environment because they are getting funding to reach that point where they will start making money. This is very, very critical for any business. Internet is the biggest disruptor. We are all very, very aware of that. We in the printing world have been looking at the digital threat for a long, long time. A lot of us have done nothing about it, but it's time to wake up and smell the salt, ladies and gentlemen. What I believe is that we are going to have a situation where everything is going to change. The way print is consumed is going to change. The technology by which we are printing is going to change, and it's going to continue to change. The volumes that we are used to, we saw in the presentations that were made earlier by Sangam and Puneet both, that the volumes are going to change. Print runs are going to be very different from what we are used to. Applications of printing are going to change. All of this is going to change. And we as printers need to be ready to adapt to that situation. Be ready to embrace the technology that is coming up. If we are going to run away from it, it's going to be very difficult for us to remain relevant in today's time. So we need to embrace these technological changes that are taking place. We need to be ready to build in new skills. Let me give you a couple of examples. All of us listen to music? Yeah? Now, way back in 1980s, if we wanted to listen to a good Mohammed Rafi or a Lata Mangeshkar song, we would either use a cassette player or a record player, vinyl record player, or we would listen to it on a radio, or we would have a Walkman. Walkman was a big thing. Where's the Walkman today? Anybody? It's a past of our it's part of our glorious past. But is music relevant? Do we still listen to Lata Mangeshkar? Do we still listen to Mohammed Rafi? How do we listen to it? Mobile phones? We plug a couple of, even when we are crossing road and a car is going to run over us, we're still busy on our phone, right? So what has happened? Music has remained relevant. The way in which music is consumed has changed. This is the point, ladies and gentlemen, that we printers also need to keep in mind, okay? Similarly, we are used to having, what we call as photographs. What has happened? Did the camera companies anticipate that the mobile company is going to be their competitor? Never. They were looking at each other, making bigger plans, okay? While somebody on the side, on the sly, came about and stole their thunder. Those camera companies which did not embrace the technology which did not accept and adapt to the changes that were taking place in the technology, found themselves to be irrelevant, while as those companies which were able to move on with the times, move on with the technology, are still relevant and are still in business. We still take photographs. We take more photographs than before. I remember at my wedding, okay, my father gave instructions to the cameraman very clearly, the photographer clearly, कि 6 reel से ज़्यादा photo नहीं गिराना. Okay, मेरे पास budget नहीं है. My son just got married, okay, and I never had to say any such thing. And when I got the disc, there were some goddamn 6,000 photographs in it. That's the power of technology. Okay, so we are still using photos. We are still using all of this. How we are consuming this service has changed. So this is the third point that I want to make to all of you, that we need to keep in mind these three things very clearly. The way we were doing business is no longer relevant. Please don't talk about the glorious past. It is only the glorious past. It's only good for talking over a single malt or a scotch or whatever your fancy tipple is. Okay? But it's not going to help you in today's time. In today's time, what is going to help you is that keep in mind the current business environment, keep in mind the way technology is evolving, and keep in mind how the consumption of the product or service that you are offering is changing. For that, you need to study and you need to keep pace with your customers. We printers are a lot who are more inward looking. We focus a lot on our machines, on how the colors look, and how the depth of the printing is, and all of those kind of things. That's relevant. That's important. I'm not saying that it is not important. But in today's time, along with all of that, you also need to be savvy about a lot of other things. So the way forward for us is to innovate. What is innovation? Innovation is a very abused word. Innovation people talk about is only when we say we invent something new. No, innovation is not just about innovating a new thing. Innovation can be in your processes. Innovation is in the way you do things. How or what you do and how much it helps you. You have a process which you set up 30 years back. It was good at that point of time and it was the best way to do that particular thing. But today, because of technology, maybe you can do it differently. Maybe you can save time. Time is money. Or maybe you can save actual cost. Okay? So innovation is in everything. We have to develop new skills. Like I said, as printers, we tend to be a lot inward. Other than printing skills, we are going to need a lot of skills. All printing companies need to have and be basic IT ready companies. They must have all of these things in place to be able to take up the challenges which their customers, because it's the customer who is going to make you or force you to change. The customer is going to either allow you to stay in business or make you irrelevant, because the customer is going to demand things from you and you will have to deliver that. If you don't, somebody else will deliver it. So you need to develop new skills. The skills could be on creative side, skills could be in logistics. A printing company today is required to print and ship the material all across the country or all across the globe. That's a revenue stream for you, ladies and gentlemen. You need to find a very, very profitable way of sending that, because you will make money from that also. So you need to have logistical skills. You need to have skills on data. I don't know. It's up to you to decide which are those skills which are going to be important for your organization. But you need to develop new skills. You need to enhance your existing skills, which is on printing. Look at the development and changes that are taking place in printing. You need to collaborate and co-create. What is collaboration and co-creation? I'm going to give you an example of a company on innovation. And on the same company, I'm going to ask Fahim to be here on the stage and talk about what is to collaborate or what is to co-create. All of us know a printing company called Vakils, right? They're known for what? Cards? Yeah, a very, very famous company. Unfortunately, Bimal cannot be here because he's traveling, but I'm sure some of the people from Vakils are here. Anybody from Vakils? No? Okay. Everybody from Vakils is traveling, I guess. Anyways, Vakils have evolved from a card manufacturer to a very, very relevant company which is IT enabled, which is handling multimedia, which is handling content, and still doing the things that they were doing earlier. But why has that happened? Because Bimal had the foresight to see the changes taking place, embrace the technology, move with the times, and develop new skills in his organization. And that's why Vakils is moving from strength to strength. And how Bimal is collaborating to explore newer opportunities, I'll ask Fahim to share with us.
Tell you what Bimal is doing. So he's moved out from traditional printing. He still has a couple of printing machines and about 3 or 4 people working on those printing machines. But he has 150 people working behind computers, creating content and also cleaning up content. So he manages artworks for various pharmaceutical companies all over the world. He archives them, he does the regulatory compliances on those artworks, manages them and stores them, recalls them and sends it all over the world to the various printers. So that's how he's evolved. And he's, by the way, the one who said maybe about 5 years back that annual reports will not be relevant. They were a huge annual report printer, and he had said annual reports will go E. So he didn't shut down his shop and say, okay, fine, that's the end of it. I'm an annual report printer. I can't make any money, so let me sell all my machines. But he evolved himself into this. So now he's also creating HTML content. He's also making the annual report digital, because the annual report is not gone. Like Mehul said, the way we consume it has changed. So the annual report is not gone, it comes as a PDF to you. But that PDF needs to be made, the PDF needs to be mailed to all the shareholders, etc., etc. So Bimal's company does all that. And as far as collaborate and co-create goes, is that Bimal and I share a very old relationship, and we decided that we should collaborate. He is doing the pre-print part of it. So he's a specialist in pre-press, archiving, digital, etc. And I'm doing the post-press, I'm doing packaging. So what we did is we need to go to exhibitions worldwide, like we have a CPHI worldwide, which is a very, very expensive exhibition. A single printer like me cannot afford a booth over there. So we collaborated together and we had a booth together. So he paid half, I paid half. The people who came to the booth also were happy because they were getting a one-stop solution. They're getting pre-press and post-press in one place. Apart from that, the clients he visits and he services the pre-press part of it. He sells my product. The clients who I visit, I sell them his product. So that's how we've collaborated. Thank you, Mehul.
Thank you. So from what Fahim has shared with us, I'm sure a lot of us have this kind of opportunities which come to us. It's not necessary that every time an opportunity that comes to us has to be addressed by investing in capital-intensive machinery. It's not always necessary to look at everything. There are different ways and easier ways in which we can find a solution. What we need to do is to be able to share with our fraternity, with people who are in the business, and find that particular relevance that will enable us to attack that opportunity and grab that opportunity. This is just one example. There are so many printing companies which are reinventing themselves, which are doing path-breaking work, which are notching up double-digital growth rates. They are all doing that because they have ensured that they keep in mind the environment in which they are doing business. They have accepted that technology is evolving and it is going to change, and they are watching their customer. Where is the customer headed? And they're trying to stay a little ahead of the customer so that they can come up with the solution. This is what the way forward for us is. So coming back to the question which I asked at the start, and people keep asking me, will print remain relevant? What all do you all feel that print will remain relevant after hearing me? Thank you very much. Yes, print will remain relevant. The more relevant question that we should be asking, and I keep asking myself, is will my company remain relevant 15 years down the line? The answer that I have to my team is a very emphatic yes. My company will remain relevant. Why? Because I'm watching my customer. That's the first thing. That's my hobby. I am a salesman by profession, by birth, whatever you want to call it. So I observe my customers very closely, go back to my technical people and give them ideas, suggestions on what is happening. So they are able to come up with solutions. I am not so much of a technical person, but I am blessed with a team which is capable and which gives me the kind of solutions that my customers accept. So my company is going to be remaining relevant. All of you need to ask yourselves today and think about it. Ask yourselves, is your company going to remain relevant? If these are the things that you are going to do, a definite and emphatic yes. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
just like Harsh Mariwala, excellent sharing. And believe me, this guy, if you call him up in the middle of the night and you go and visit his factory, you want some information, you want some help from him, he'll give it to you. He's a brilliant guy. Thank you very much, Mehul. And please remain on stage. I'm going to call upon Ramesh Kejriwal to please come up on stage along with Firoz Reshamwala to please honor Mehul with a memento to thank him for his time. Do you think it's a good idea getting printers to talk about the issues? Brilliant. That's what we thought too. Thank you. We'll continue this next year too. So Ramesh Babu and Firoz, please do the honors. And a big round of applause to Mehul Desai. I'm going to quickly call upon